Oh, we have one of the all-time greats joining me here on the show here tonight for my horror shows edition. You may know him from I Know What You Did Last Summer. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Something to talk about. Mike Franks and NCIS. We have the one and only, the great Muse Watson. Muse, how's it going? Welcome to the show. iHeartRadio, Live 365, Max Radio.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. How are you enjoying your Halloween?
Um, it's very quiet. It's just me and my wife and six cows.
And you have a long history of cattle because I know back in the day, I've heard in other interviews that people used to offer you $1,000 to get thrown off of a horse.
That's right. That's right. And I thought it was a lot of money. Uh, as I get older, it's not so much. I'm
Oh.
feeling some of I'm feeling some of those old hits, you know.
I
Yeah.
want to get into your early beginnings here because you grew up in Louisiana.
Yeah, I did. I was born in Alexandria at Baptist Hospital on the Red River, and I went to Bolton High School and Emmanuel Baptist Church. Started singing in Emmanuel Baptist Church in the choir, and ended up at Louisiana Tech on a music scholarship. Um, and I misbehaved quite a bit and lost my scholarship and got kicked out of the band and thought everything was over. And my sister, who was living in Berea, Kentucky, um, she saved my life. And when I got into Berea College, I started acting. And I just found what I was supposed to do when I got there and got on stage. And my first role was Petruchio in Taming of the Shrew. I mean, first role, a lead in Shakespeare. I thought that was pretty good.
I heard that you had
But
your first real acting lesson back in high school when your brother told you to convince these kids that were bullying you, and they said when you get back here in the morning we're going to whoop your ass. He said if you act crazy, no one's going to want to fight a crazy man. So that was your real first acting lesson.
it was, and it has not only worked for me in my acting career, but it works for me in my personal life. you know, and but it's I study this species and I study the way they react and the way they make facial movements, but I'm not a big fan of this species. And so, you know, right now I'm sitting out in the middle of nowhere in Vermont, and I'm on a little cattle ranch, and it's uh, it's where I study.
Something to talk about. This was the first big one with Julia Roberts.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And that was my mother's favorite film that I ever did. And, of course, she had seen me on horses as a child, so it was something else. Bobby and I both rode the entire Grand Prix, and so, I mean, we had doubles for higher jumps, but we rode the whole course at 3 foot, and so it was that was a real special, very special film for me.
Being that you're were so well experienced and versed in theater, how does the world of theater prepare you for film?
Uh, uh, it really it it really depends on how an actor prepares for a character, because with some actors they just incorporate their own personality into the situation that the person's in, and those kind of people will see no difference, and it'll be very, very, very little difference uh, in their performance, and very little difference between theater and film. But for for people who study characters on stage, um, there are there are technical aspects that you have to make work for the character, and that's also true of film, but it's and television, but they're different ones. Um, they're not so much lighting. Uh, you know, um, um, the 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 characters are generally on stage more presentational, um, and because of the camera closeness, uh, in film, you can become very subtle with your face,
Mhm.
and you know, practice things in the mirror like this. You know, I've used it a couple of times, um, and but the I think I think one of the biggest differences that I've seen too is that one is forever, and there are performances. Uh, well, like when I did Cervantes and Man of La Mancha, there are performances on stage that I wish were recorded. Uh, I'm proud of those performances, and I wish that I wish they were recorded.
Something to talk about was actually your connection to I Know What You Did Last Summer, because the casting director got in contact with you because they thought you were perfect with the part because you could come off as intimidating but be good with the young talent on set.
Yes, um, he was one of the producers on Something to Talk About, and when they started having trouble finding a bad guy that could film bad and drink coffee and eat craft service good, then you know, and I he knew me as that kind of person. He knew that I could uh, take care of the killing and the coffee.
I know you were nervous when taking this part because of the surrounding thoughts of people. Once you get into a horror movie, your career may not be as long, and people didn't take horror actors seriously. But when growing up, when you were younger, was there any horror movie that may have inspired you for this role that you look back on?
No. Uh, I was raised in rural Louisiana, and uh, my father passed away when I was 6 years old,
Man.
and my mom did not allow horror movies, and I don't remember when I first saw my first horror movie, but it must have been after I got to college, and but to me, there was no difference. To me, when I studied this man, I was enraged. I mean, my daughter had passed away, and everybody's losing touch with that. It's not even a subject, and so uh, I tell people today, now that I have a daughter, I didn't when we filmed, but I do now. And I tell everybody today that those producers saw something in me that I didn't even know was there. Uh, you know, I really didn't understand that being a father meant, you know, uh, understanding all the Secret Service techniques, you know. But it does. So
I think what makes this such a timeless film when you look back on it is the writing, because your part is perfect. It's a revenge story, and Ben Willis, the Fisherman, is one of the all-time horror icons now to all the horror fans, and just this star-studded cast that you're with. It's unbelievable. I mean, you look at everyone else on that set, from Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr., and you even said in the past that you thought Ryan was going to be the next big star.
I did, uh, and he still is in my book.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, the thing about it, is that that's one of the reasons I think that so many of us that signed up later were willing to do so quickly when the opportunity presented itself, was because of the cast who had already signed. Uh, you know, um, you don't. I mean, you don't get any better than Michelle Gellar and Jennifer Love Hewitt. I mean, gee whiz.
And Johnny Galecki as well, because I know there was the scene there
Ab-
when you put the hook in his throat and drag him across the table.
Absolutely. Um, and Johnny Galecki, just one of my favorite people. He's just one of the greatest guys there ever was. And
The Big Bang Theory. He was known on Roseanne before that as well.
yeah, yeah, and he's a he's subtle, but he's a consummate actor. And so uh, I I really I really, the whole thing about making a horror picture is, if everybody's taking it seriously as an acting job, and everybody was, and everybody was, you know, creating this unique character. It was very good show to be on.
Oh, you could tell that you really got into this role, especially because you take over right on the screen, especially when you're revealed as Ben Willis, not even in the shot the
Yeah,
slicker. Because as soon as you knock out Freddie Prince's character, boom, you could feel Muse Watson's presence right there.
yeah, yeah, and and to me, that energy had to be there in that, because it was very difficult to make that energy go through a coat like this guy wears. So it took. Uh, I practiced that quite a bit. It's you also study movement as an actor. And you can walk in the room like this, or you can walk in a room like this. And that's two different people. It's two entirely different people. And, you have to make those decisions for the characters that you play. And Ben, uh, did I tell you about me conjuring Ben and him laughing at me?
No.
Uh, one of the things that I think we don't teach enough of to our uh, new actors coming up is that we always teach them how to get in character, but we never teach them how to get out. And I've seen some of the Hollywood suicides and things that were obviously tied to their last character, and it worries me some in that, and I myself have studied it. At any rate, with that said, um, when I was going to do Ben Willis, he scared me to death. For me to loan him my body, I didn't know if I'd get it back. And so one night I'm trying to play his music, and I'm trying to think in his terms, and I just get the feeling that he's laughing at me. And so I just mythically say, "What the hell are you laughing at?" And he says to me in my head, "You're trying to work yourself up to the point where you kill somebody." And for me, it's like chewing gum. You know, I'm psychotic. It's nothing to me. And, most of the moves that I made, I had nothing, you know.
No,
I
that's
had,
interesting perspective because I know there's been some actors coming out recently speaking about what it's like to be a method actor and in relation to what you brought up to suicides in Hollywood with Heath Ledger because that was a devastating one.
yes. And um, I'm I'm quite convinced uh, that kind of I don't know assistance should be given to anyone who takes on that kind of role. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
Uh, I I have I have some things that I do to go that I go through to get rid of characters and things like that, and I made sure that I worked on Ben Willis. You know, there are actually 5 characters that my wife says are not welcome in our home.
The Fisherman's one of them.
Yes, definitely. And but it's important to be able to get rid of the character, and you know, um, and it's and 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 sometimes it's difficult with the tight shooting schedule to get any break at all, you know. And but I've uh, they weren't horror movies, but I've killed uh, several people on film. You know, I've shot myself twice. Uh, you know, and if you don't think an actor checks his load, you ought to see me before I blow my brains out. I check my load,
Yeah.
but you know, um, I feel so blessed with my career. I mean, I would have preferred a little more versatility with my film and TV career, but I had I had a pretty versatile theatrical career, and then you know when I got to Hollywood, they uh, were steering me in the tough guy gonna kill you thing, and and as an actor, I can do that. I mean, so and the money was good. And I feel very blessed, uh, but by the same token, uh, uh, there are actors in Hollywood, believe it or not, and they are gems to work with. And then there are other people who are just themselves in every role that they do, and and those people are kind and sweet as they can be too. So I mean, uh, but I didn't know how few actors I'd run into.
Sarah Michelle Gellar is definitely one of them because I know you established a bond with her on set. You used to take walks together, and one day she asked the PA on the set to get her a water, and you said you couldn't have got that yourself, and she told you the more you ask for, the better they treat you.
And she's so right. She was. Lord have mercy, she had worked forever, and uh, she was a special person to get to know.
How's your relationship with Jennifer Love Hewitt to this day? Because I know you guys reunited a few times. I think on Ghost Whisperer and then Saturday Night Live, you had to put the slicker over your Walker Texas Ranger outfit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was. it was something. I was I always felt so close to love because we lived in the same building in Burbank when we were both cast in this thing, and so we had seen each other like down at the pool or whatever, and so then I when I got to the set to film, she had gone to a pottery place and made a special thing for each one of the cast. And she's just such a kind and sweet person. And, just unbelievably kind, both of them.
Jennifer Love Hewitt also asked for the medic and if you were all right at the end because you did your own stunts for the ending scene of I know what you did last summer on the boat. I heard.
No, 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 just pieces. Um, like I rode the accelerator to the top of the mast and blacked out the camera. Uh, but then the fall into the ocean uh, was a stunt double, and so I was doing like one thing, and then he would do the worst part.
And then apparently you popped all your blood vessels in your eye.
Oh gosh! Uh, After he did the swing into the ocean, I think, or maybe it was before. Um, they put me in the rig to swing me back and forth across the ship. And I thought, oh, geez, I just had body parts cut off. I'm probably screaming my head off. And I didn't think about it technically with my body. So I'm hanging from one leg, swinging back and forth across the ship, and I'm screaming, which they could have put in later or whatever. Uh, and all of that pressure of being upside down and screaming, I busted all the blood vessels in my eyes. And that's not something you feel. You don't feel any pain from it. There's no pain up there. And so when I got down off the rig, I got up and I was going to talk to Love, and Love took one look at me and screamed for the medic when she saw my eyes because they're just solid blood. And
Oh.
they the blood eyes in the actually shooting schedule. Uh, I was actually criticized on one kill because the hat was too far down. And we we were trying to film that one with the bloody eyes. So
uh,
uh, gets a little
did they keep you away from the actors once you were in the slicker? Because I know sometimes what they do with the person who's usually playing the villain in a horror film, they keep them away from the cast so that they get the real scare factor when they see him for the first time.
I don't think so. Uh, I mean, I was a totally different guy when I was in there filming with them, and I don't I don't think there was any question in their minds. They knew I'd kill them, like chewing gum. But
uh,
it's it's very scary at times and very interesting at times, and the sometimes the scariest scenes in the world are the most fun to film, and in between takes you're just laughing yourself crazy, and thinking about what the reaction is going to be. But it's I mean, growing up in Louisiana, I heard some scary things when I was a kid, and there was a lot of voodoo, and there was some scary stories for sure. But the scariest animal I know is the Homo sapien. I mean, we're a scary species.
yeah.
And it's uh, I I I try to make these people comfortable in their own skin, or at least I first started out that way until I started playing people that were not. But it's been uh, quite an adventure. You know,
This film was a huge hit eventually because I remember when you told your boss when you were working, I think you were working for the Teamsters, I read online. You said that we have the number one movie out right now, and he was just like,
oh
yeah, get back to work.
oh no no no, that's the Teamsters thing. That was way
That was way before.
before I was filming. Yeah, but no, what happened was my agent called and said that there was bad talk around town about the film, and he said, so if you don't want to fly back from your hideout in the Smokies to Los Angeles to go to the you know opening night, then you don't have to come. And I said, oh, you mean I don't have to come to the opening? And he said, no. Well, boy, Love and Michelle and everybody, they were like, what? But anyway, I didn't go. And the next morning, I wake up, and the guy that works for me, uh, he and I were working around the place there in the hills, and uh, the phone rang in the shop, and I picked it up, and they told me the news, and I hung it up. I came walking out of the shop, and I looked at this guy that works for me, and I said, I got the number one movie in the nation. And George went, yeah, we got to move that tractor.
Oh,
Oh, it's I tell
unbelievable.
I tell young actors today, I mean, I say, don't let all this celebrity and all the likes you get on the internet, don't let that go to your head. When you think about it, your fans are looking at a character that you portray. And that character you portrayed, you didn't pick out his clothes, you didn't do his makeup, you didn't even write the words he says. So don't let this be too big a thing for you.
Do you
So,
think the perception has changed since now because you were in a successful horror film? Do you think the perception has changed over time now with Hollywood that horror movies in which people can't act, they usually do a horror movie? Do you think that perception has changed now?
um, uh, well, I think someone else who did probably more than I did was Lord have mercy. She was on NCIS, and my dementia won't let me think of her name. She's got three names, and one of them's Jane
Oh,
uh, Curtis,
oh, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis. I think she has done an amazing thing for, uh, you know, being able to go from one to the other. You know, I mean, she hasn't stayed with horror, and neither have I. So, uh, but by the same token, when I made that film, uh, I needed the money, uh, and I know some people have, where they won't choose horror, but when you get a picture that big, uh, boy, it's hard not to take the money. And Lord have mercy, I'm still taking the money. The residuals are great from that film.
Yeah, it's always on October this whole month. I know that was on, I think a couple days ago. I saw it was on TV. And then shortly after, how quickly did you find out that they were going to be shooting a sequel, which is I still know what you did last summer?
Oh, I, I don't even know that I would find out unless, uh, somebody I know would was telling me. Uh, but you mean something that they were going to do that didn't involve me?
Oh, no. I mean, after the first one, how quickly did you find out about the sequel, the next one?
Oh, well, it was it was fairly quickly, I think. Um, but I was in Cape Town, South Africa, shooting Dusk Till Dawn,
The second
and
one.
uh, and that's when and it was hard to reset up because my days were their nights. So, but we got it squared away.
Yeah.
Uh, and once again, I think everybody's concern in the cast is everybody who's still alive coming back, and everybody was.
Yeah.
So
Another huge cast. And I heard that Brandy was afraid to meet you.
yes, uh, when I first got on the set, it was on the studio lot, and I was walking down through the trailers, and Love grabbed me and said, "Hey, uh, Brandy is so scared to meet you." And I said, "Oh," I said, "Where is she?" And she said, "Well, she's in the studio cafeteria." I went over there, and as soon as I walked in the door, Brandy was she was screaming, and she had like two girls on each side of her, and she was scooting down so far she was like under the table. And I went over and we talked for a few minutes, but I'm not sure that first meeting got her over it. Uh, I think it took a little while, but but hey, that's what I was hired for, so that people didn't have to hide in the cafeteria.
Exactly right. Jack Black was also in this film. Mekhi Phifer. You had more stars in this one as well.
Yeah, yeah. And Jack Black's such a talent. Um, you know, the uh, we had a little we had a little confusion about when they wanted to put uh, Jack's murder in and all that. And we had a little confusion about how big it should be, I think, and so we were hearing some talk about what they were going to do and everything, and I went straight on from that film straight to my next film. And so they called and said that they would like to add a little bit to Jack's uh, murder. And I said, well, I'm on the East Coast working, but I said, for it to be me and for that to be, for the fisherman to be consistent, I said, let me you fly me home on the weekend and let me film it on the weekend. Well, they decided that was all too much trouble since I was already working on another picture, so they decided to just start CGI and everything. So, uh, but we all worked really hard on that picture.
Yeah. It's one of the all-time sequels as well. I know fans love it.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, uh, everything everything that you were dealing with as far as emotions of the actors was all just dead on. I was,
I heard
I'm
you broke
proud.
your toe on this set as on this set too.
Uh, Oh my, yeah. Oh gosh, that's right. Um, it my big toe uh, broke on a rock in on the beach in Mexico, and it just um, it got involved with the joint itself and uh, revealed a bunion of bone that was sticking out. It was crazy.
You put a
I've
lot of
been
sacrifice into these roles.
I there was a little role I did over in Europe where they wanted to kill me by dragging me behind a pickup truck at 45 miles an hour. And they built a little creeper, like mechanics use, where you couldn't see the wheels. And they were towing me behind the pickup truck, and at 45 miles an hour, the cable broke that was hooked to the creeper. And I busted myself all to pieces. But it's and then there's been a couple others that were interesting.
If I Die Before I Wake was an interesting picture. Your co-star wrote you a letter.
He did. It was like the finest compliment I ever got as an actor. Uh, the actress playing the mom who I raped in the shower. Uh, I bash her husband where he's dead, and then I rape her in the shower. And the next day, I got in a thank you card from her uh, uh, for my professionalism. And I thought, if you get a thank you card for a rape scene, uh, I, that's acting. That's not. And and what you see in the film is what you're supposed to see in the film. It's violent and it's nasty, you know. And uh, uh, I don't know. I think that's one of the finest compliments I ever got as an actor, was to get that card from her.
What are your thoughts on I Know What You Did Last Summer being parodied in Scary Movie? Because Scary Movie has become one of the all-time big parody movies for horror films, such as Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. So what are your thoughts when you see parodies of I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Uh, well, uh, I just like to say to those participating that I don't take the impersonation very well. And if they want to put their life at risk, go ahead. Who said that? Who was that?
Oh, NCIS, Mike Franks, another
Oh,
huge role.
yeah, yeah. Um, that was that was a very very interesting guy, and I I enjoyed I enjoyed letting him take over my body for sure.
I agree that I think that they made a mistake in killing you off because it was an important role. You were a mentor figure.
Well, I think they realized that after it happened, they were, you know, uh, I think what one of the producers said to me was, "Your fans are rabid, rabid." So anyway, um, I do have fans that I'm so grateful to that that understand that the whole idea is versatility, you know.
I want to touch on this because it's so important, in which you wrote the foreword to stars in her eyes navigating the maze of childhood autism, because I heard about your daughter and her being autistic and just what you've been doing for people who have autism out there. And I want to thank you and just touch on that a little bit.
Well, that's why I'm in Vermont. She's in Landmark College in Putney, Vermont, which is the only college in the United States, which is uh, it's only has autistic, ADHD, and dyslexic children there, and so she actually has just started her radio show,
Wow. No, congratulations. That's huge.
and like her dad, uh, she's into the blues, and so she's got a show called The Blues Train at Landmark College.
Wow. Yeah, I came from college radio, so that's amazing. That's big time.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's
and
where everyone gets their start. You got to start as soon as you get the first opportunity. I know people start in high school, college, so that's big time that she's starting her own show in college.
well, I just and I love it that it's dedicated to the blues. I just love that. Uh, you know, Jazz and the blues is my favorite. You know, in acting, I would I would decide, particularly on stage, I would decide on as I conjured the character, I would decide on what they drank, their liquor, and some it was scotch, and some were bourbon, and some were beer. Well, anyway, so I did that, and then when I got in trouble with alcohol and had to get rid of it out of my life, I had to come up with something else. And I started looking for a character's music. And when I found his music, I had him. And then all I had to do when I got on set, I didn't even have to look at the lines. All I had to do was listen to his music, you know, and it got me in character. So,
What music was Ben Willis listening to?
oh, now, Ben, Ben didn't listen to music. Ben didn't listen to nothing. Mm.
Oh man.
So
Muse,
it's
tell me what you have on the way. What are you working on next?
well, uh, uh, you know, I had a picture that I was gonna do, but it's I think the timing's off. It was a story about two old men going down the Mississippi all the way to New Orleans, and uh, I used it as an excuse to buy the boat, and the boat is on the Mississippi. So I mean on the Ohio River, and it's docked in a really good place. And so uh, got the boat. I guess the movie don't matter,
Diary
but
of a Lunatic.
uh,
Diary of a Lunatic.
Diary of a Lunatic was I shot it while I was in New York, and I think there's some very, very interesting creations going to come out of these guys. Uh, these guys started off as a stunt team, and then started gathering the talent around them. And, just you know, I think it's going to be a good series. So,
I think so as well, especially what you're telling me.
yeah, yeah. Uh, it's uh, they've got the potential for a very, very good series, and there are very few of those kind of series that that make it.
Muse, is there anything else you would love to let my audience and listeners know that we didn't cover here tonight?
Let me tell you something uh, pretty serious, really serious. I've been a lot of people in my life, and I've been to a lot of people's brains, and there ain't nothing more important than being kind.
You got that right. And bless you, Muse. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
I had a great time speaking with you.
Thank you. Take
And
care.
thank you too. Thank you to your management for helping setting this up as well.
No problem. I'll tell.
Thank you, Muse. I'm looking forward to
Okay.
your upcoming work. Thank you for everything that you've done.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your night, Muse. Take care and stay safe.